Remember when Donald Trump said this?
Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again.
I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich.
Barely 2 months into his presidency, we are staring down a Trumpcession. Consumer confidence has plummeted. The stock market is sinking. The Atlanta Federal Reserve predicts negative economic growth for the first quarter of the year. Some economists say we could even face stagflation, a combination of high prices and low growth. Tariffs are the number one threat to the economy right now, but there are at least three other ways Trump's policies are both wrecking the economy and your bank account. First, tariffs. Regardless of what Trump says otherwise, tariffs are a tax on imports that are paid by you, the American consumer. The Tax Foundation estimates that the tariffs Trump has imposed on China, Mexico, and Canada so far will cost the average American household $1,072 a year because of high prices on everything from clothes to toys to shoes to fruits and vegetables. Perhaps even worse than the tariffs themselves is the uncertainty. Trump's on-again, off-again trade policies plus his shifting rationales, is it immigration? Is it fentanyl? Is it a trade deficit? Have only added to the chaos. Businesses don't like uncertainty because they can't control their costs and they can't plan for the future. They might delay investments or put off new hires. The result? Trumpcession. Another Trump policy that's bad for the economy is mass deportation.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of the United States. Starting on day one, I will seal the border and stop the migrant invasion into our country.
According to the Center for Migration Studies, undocumented workers make up 5% of the U.S. workforce. Moreover, they are disproportionately concentrated in two industries that matter a lot to U.S. consumers: construction and agriculture. According to the National Immigration Forum, up to 19% of construction workers are undocumented. And according to Farm Aid, as many as 40% of farm workers are undocumented. Immigrants, in fact, make up 70% of all farm workers. Mass deportations will mean labor shortages in both industries, which will push up wages, and that in turn will push up prices. That means higher home prices and higher prices at the grocery store. A third thing Trump is doing to tank the economy is doging the federal government with mass layoffs. You might think that all federal workers live in the DC area, but that's actually not true. In fact, 80% of federal workers work outside Washington. That's because they're postal workers, park rangers, mechanics at NASA, or doctors and nurses working for the Veterans Administration. One looming catastrophe is the planned layoff of 80,000 workers from the VA, many of whom are veterans themselves. The Veterans Administration runs 1,380 facilities nationwide, many of them in rural areas. In fact, nearly 60% of rural veterans, or more than 2.8 million people, rely on the VA for their health care. Devastating the VA means fewer jobs for vets, but also potentially the loss of critical health care. Cutting this many jobs will also have ripple effects throughout local economies if displaced workers can't find new jobs right away. People will have less money to spend, which means less business for restaurants and retailers. State and local governments will collect less revenue in taxes. We will all be worse off. One final thing that Trump is doing to kill our economy is to kill its future by slashing billions of dollars in scientific research at the nation's universities. In particular, Trump and Doge want to cut at least $5 billion in funding from the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, although the courts have stopped this for now. But if these cuts go through, it's not just elite universities like Harvard that are going to take the hit. The money also goes to plenty of state and regional colleges that depend on this funding. NIH grants also support 400,000 jobs across the country, according to the Center for American Progress. But the biggest losers will be the American people. NIH grants support life-saving research for Alzheimer's and cancer. NIH funding powers innovation. According to the NIH itself, every $100 million in funding generates as many as 76 patents. NIH funding is why America leads the world in biomedical research. Cutting this funding will devastate the search for cures and set back U.S. science for decades. So despite Trump's promises of a new golden age for America, what we're likely to get is a Trump-branded recession brought on by terrible economic policies. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.